Perhaps the most pernicious and destructive manifestation of social Darwinism was in what happened in Nazi Germany.
Adolf Hitler's undeniable connection with the theory
and were killed, gassed by doctors and nurses in the service of the Darwinist ideology.
To put it simply, no Darwin, no Hitler.
You know, I could just as easily say no religion, no 9/11, but you know, that would be cruel and trivializing a disaster and all. Okay, now you really have to understand the line of thinking here. It's Darwin leads to evolution, which leads to no God, which of course leads to Adolf Hitler, Auschwitz, Holocaust, 12 million dead. Because without belief in God, of course, there's no morals, and without morals, you don't have any qualms about trying to wipe out millions and millions of people just because you think they're lesser than you are. It is a painfully transparent fallacy used in an attempt to discredit science and by extension atheism, despite the long and ever-growing list of reputable scientists who believe both in God and in evolution. It also flies in the face of historical fact that Adolf Hitler himself was a practicing Christian, had been his entire life. His book Mein Kampf is filled with references to God, Christianity, a holy and sacred mission. Nazi symbolism is constantly intermixed with Christian symbolism. Gott mit uns, God with us. There is nothing anywhere in Hitler's writings about Darwin or atheism. It's always God.
Too, he talks about even within German society, there's a struggle for existence going on, which brings about natural selection. And they use the word selection quite freely, and in fact, if you read just about any books about the Holocaust, you'll come across the word selection, because in the camps, that's exactly what they did. And they used the term, and the term was related directly to Darwinian terminology, that when you went to the camps, you went through a selection process. They were selecting this person to survive and this person to go to the gas chambers.
You know what? On this account, they're actually right. The Nazis did use the word selection extensively when it came to the Holocaust. I wonder why.
What's going to happen if you marry up eugenics and limited access to universal health care? It's going to be you just go die.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Back up a second there, Stein. What word did you just use?
What's going to happen if you marry up eugenics?
Eugenics, the self-direction of human evolution, or as its creator, Sir Francis Galton, defined it, the study of all agencies under human control which can improve or impair the racial quality of future generations. Of course, this philosophy, it predates Galton. You can trace it all the way back to Plato in ancient Greece, who believed that human reproduction should be strictly regulated and controlled by the state. Basically, it's just a way of attempting to define and measure which traits are good and which ones are bad for humanity, and how to control it in order to improve us as people. At its height of popularity, this was endorsed by people like H.G. Wells, Woodrow Wilson, Winston Churchill, FDR. It also had its staunch critics like G.K. Chesterton, who even wrote a book about it entitled Eugenics and Other Evils. It is, of course, most famously known for being the foundation for Hitler's Holocaust. Well, kind of. It was actually mixed in with a variety of other things, another philosophy being Lamarckism, or Lamarckian evolution. Coined by Jean-Baptiste Lamarck way back in the 1700s, this was the philosophy of inherited traits, as in any improvements physically or mentally you make upon yourself during your lifetime, it will be passed on to your children. This, of course, had more to do with folk wisdom than actual science, and has long been disproved. Hitler took this to extremes, however. He believed that not only physical and mental improvements were passed on, but moral and spiritual strength were also passed on. That's why he came up with the infamous Lebensborn program, in which he gave extreme financial and medical aid to German families, in particular those of SS officers, so that his Aryan master race could become a reality more quickly. He denied health services to families that weren't natural German citizens, and gave extra aid to the blonde-haired, blue-eyed boys of his stormtroopers. So my question is, where's the atheism in all this? Hitler's final solution didn't come from a lack of belief in God. It came from twisted and extreme interpretations of Galton, Lamarck, and his own Christian religion. Not lack of faith, not reading Charles Darwin. Sadly, though, people will continue to prove Godwin's law over and over and over again by trying to make the link between Hitler and atheism as a way of scoring a cheap point in any sort of debate between theists and atheists. And in doing so, they're not only being dishonest with other people and with themselves, but they're trivializing one of the most horrific chapters in human history for no other reason than to point the finger at someone else and say, "You're wrong, I'm right." On a related note, as I was researching this video, I stumbled across a documentary by Coral Ridge Ministries entitled Darwin's Deadly Legacy. You can pretty much infer the content from the title there. Well, in keeping with the celebrations of the 150th anniversary of the publication of Origin of the Species, my own tribute to Charles Darwin will be to debunk this documentary, one lie and fallacy at a time. It's going to take a while. I'll need quite a bit of assistance with it. Any you can offer would certainly be appreciated. But, just my way of saying, thanks, Mr. Darwin.